Stop. This video is a part 2. If you want to watch part 1, all you gotta do is click the link right here. Alright, cool. Last time on the Tonight Show arc, after I was told I was one of the 3 UT Austin students selected to be a part of the Tonight Show, I was called on set to be a background actor to the skit that would be premiering before the show. When I arrived, I met up with the other 2 winners, Elizabeth and Elma, messed up a handshake from the Jimmy Fallon, and stole a couple clementines from on set.
Why would you bring that up again? It's not plot relevant.
Anyway, after that, I tried hopping on top of a wall, and I got my romp exposed on Twitter.
Again, not relevant.
Now, with only 1 day left of filming to go before the actual show, what could possibly happen? Anyway, this is the story of how I got my college tuition paid by Samsung and the Tonight Show. But we're saying Jimmy Fallon for the clickbait. So without further ado, let's just get right back into this storytime video, but this time with a new intro. Day 2, we were told to wear the exact same thing and go to the UT Austin football stadium.
So you know that blue shirt came back.
Although I've been to a football game or 2 on the outside of the stadium, you know, in the crowd, it was a whole nother thing to be inside of the stadium on the field.
I felt like a true D1 athlete, except without the threat of possible brain damage. Where was I going with that again? Oh yeah, it was a cool experience.
Here we got to film with the UT band.
We did this pretty cool scene where the whole band circled around Jimmy Fallon and he transformed into a supreme Texas deity. No more JoJo references. Once again, this took us hours to film, only for it to equate to at least a hot 40 seconds in the video. But hey, at least we got to spend some time with our mascot Hookem. We finally did it, filming was done, and I was pumped. Keep in mind, at that point in time, I still had no idea what I was going to be getting up on top of that stage. So I spent that night thinking of every possible scenario that could go on top of that stage. I could fall, I could trip, I could call him Jimmy Kimmel, nothing was getting past me. But if a year of being in an improv group has taught me anything, it's that the more that you plan for things to go a certain way, the less it'll come out naturally. So it's better if you just surrender to the moment and just deal with whatever comes as it comes. I was really nervous, but at the same time, and this might sound like an oxymoron, I was the most confident I'd ever been going to sleep that night of my life.
The next day couldn't have come any quicker because it was finally time to record the official show. I woke up in the morning, raced to the theater, and grabbed tickets for me and my +1 tray. It was about to go down.
Flash forward to around 3 o'clock, it's time for the show. And people were lined up to get a piece of that Jimmy Fallon. Those lines looked like they could stretch on for miles. But luckily, me and my boy Trey didn't have to wait because of course, we were VIP guests.
Only a couple more hours until the show was supposed to start, and your boy was of course ready to make his debut. After staying in line for a minute, Trey and I were called in by one of the producers, the first one that I talked to in part 1.
Shout out Uncle Brett!
Thanks to him, we got to skip the line, and not gonna lie, I was starting to feel a little bit like a celebrity. It was at this point we got to meet up with Elma, Elizabeth, and both of their +1s. And after a little bit of some
more waiting,
we were finally let into the actual theater, and I was able to take in everything. The blue and orange lights, the cameras, the people, everything. It was just so beautiful. The Tonight Show was at our college campus, and I was going to be a part of it. And so the show begun.
So you can only imagine how much stuff was going through my head at the moment. But after I saw how well put together the bit was and just how genuinely excited the audience was to just be there, I kind of just fell back and enjoyed the whole thing, you know? So shout out to anybody that was there and just had a good time. It was y'all's excitement that was able to calm my nerves. And that's when...
There are 3 students from our opening who I want to single out. Alma Zamora, Elizabeth Yoon, and Fitzgerald Allen.
Hey, that's my name, and there I go. Funny thing about this little part right here where I act all shocked, Trey and I already knew that this was going to happen, so we had to pretend that I was getting called up there on a whim. That's right, it pranked America. This is all acting, and you fell for it. but the next few moments was definitely not. I stepped on top of that stage as confidently as possible. I started dancing too because, you know, dancing is something that makes me comfortable, which is ironic because in one of my first videos, I detailed how much I hated dancing in public. Now here I am, dancing in front of millions of people on national television.
Guy's got a real sense of humor, for real.
Got it! I walked up to Jimmy Fallon doing the UT22 dance, and he did the dance too.
Vibe check.
I also walked up to him this time and gave him the handshake and made some extra forearm contact too.
Character development.
Anywho, Jimmy Fallon had asked all three of us to go up there and say where we were from, talk about our major, yada yada yada. But when I got to my turn, I not only forgot to say my major, but I once again folded and said that I was from Dallas, Texas, which is only partially true.
But now that I think about it, this is also kind of ironic character development. Because on August 1st, 2015, after growing to love so many of the people and connections I made in my home, Minnesota, I was thrusted into Dallas, Texas, and I hated it. So much so that if you were to go back in time and tell 15-year-old Fitz that he'd be repping the state he hated on national television, he probably wouldn't believe you. My Minnesota friends didn't take that as lightly though.
Oh, you bitch.
So they're giving each of you a Samsung holiday bundle, which is a bunch of very cool Samsung stuff.
Because Samsung was the one sponsoring this whole program, giving the Tonight Show the assets they needed in order to do this in the first place, of course, we were getting a bunch of their materials. So at that moment in time, I truly only thought that all I was getting was the Samsung gifts and stuff, which I use all of it, I'm extremely grateful. So when Jimmy Fallon said this,
So listen very carefully.
Okay.
Samsung is going to pay for the remainder of your college tuition.
I was not paying attention to that man whatsoever. The whole entire time I was thinking, what's taking this dude so long to take this selfie? So with all that stuff combined, it took a couple of seconds before your boy realized what just went down.
Samsung is going to pay for the remainder of your college tuition. Listen very carefully.
But when it hit, it really hit. This wasn't a facade for TV, this wasn't acting, this was all the genuine reactions of 3 college students who got a giant weight lifted off of their shoulders. Let me be real with y'all for a sec, alright? I'm a studio art major. I draw, I paint, I create. Of course there's nothing wrong with that at its core, but as a future creative, I constantly have to battle the thoughts of, is this worth it? Am I just a number? Am I in college for the right reasons? Am I just here to take out money from my pockets? And most importantly, am I taking more from college than it's taking from me? It was a culmination of all of those questions, which made me start to consider the idea of dropping out. I wasn't gonna do it right away, but there was a possibility I could have acted on it. What makes this even more funny is that
I remember having vivid conversations with people about the idea of me dropping out of college right before all this happened.
and as the rest of the people performed and the show went on, that was the only thing I could think about. I was free.
Let's go, baby, let's go!
Not gonna lie, the Eyes of Texas remix was pretty lit though.
$1 million for lunch, $500,000 for breakfast. Everything big in Texas, that's why I brought this here necklace.
After all that was said and done, I got to see behind the scene access to the show. There I took pictures with Jen, Brett, Elma, and Elizabeth, did a promotional video for Samsung, and I also got to meet with the people from Samsung that were behind this whole thing happening. It was at that point we finally got some more insight to how we were exactly chosen.
And basically, this is how it all went down. Basically, Samsung reached out to the school for students with good standing with the university. The university, in cooperation with our scholarship program, the University Leadership Network, selected a handful of possible students. And after reviewing our resumes, checking our social media, and taking a look at our financial aid situation, the school picked the 3 of us. Or at least, that's how I think it went. I like to think there's at least one last cog that played into how I was chosen. Truth be told, after I met Elma and Elizabeth, I had already figured out that our scholarship program had something to do with how we were chosen. So as a token of thanks to the faculty member from the program that sent in my resume to the school with a vague idea with what it was for, noting my involvement with YouTube and improv, which he knew because I talked to him during office hours, hashtag get to know your faculty, it's important, Trey and I met The Roots, one of his favorite bands. So shout out to Kyle. I hope you're enjoying your signed album from The Roots, because I don't think I'd be in this situation without you. After I left the theater, I went home, and a couple of hours later, I got to watch the whole thing unfold with my friends on live television. And if you guys thought it hit me before, man, you should have seen me when my mother called me on the phone. I'm not gonna say I cried, but my face was especially moist around the eye area. And with that marks the end of the Tonight Show arc. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know it took a while before these videos came out, but I really had to take the time and give these videos the care that they needed. This whole experience on the Tonight Show meant so much more than just the money. So once again, thanks so much to Samsung, UT, the Tonight Show, Jimmy Fallon, and thank God for just bringing so many pieces of my life full circle. If you guys are at all curious on wherever my journey will take me to next, be sure to follow me on all of my socials. Tell me about that little animated section I did in the video. I added it like super last minute. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. You know what? Let somebody else close out this video.
Okay, I need some subscribers to go to Bitsy Allen. You heard him. You know how many I need? About 50,000. Y'all know the legendary boy. The click. Absolutely. Brings us to the light. Some feeling a bitch, some feeling a fight. They ain't ready to talk.